Okay? The red, that's it.
Okay.
So the red light is going to be around your microphone. Finished. Just let me answer your question. And then when you're finished,
My name is Ish.
My name is Samuel.
I am Equia. All right.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to tonight's hustings. First of all, my name is Daniel O'Connor. I'm the chair of the Student Council, and I will be chairing this initial debate for the VP for Education position. We do have 4 candidates, however, one isn't present tonight. Well, 2 aren't present tonight. We do have a statement from one of them, but for the 2 candidates who are here, I'll now give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves and give a 1 to 2 minute opening statement. And then we'll read a statement that we have from one of the participants who isn't here, okay? And I do have an order for tonight, which has been slightly muddied by the absences, but it would have been that we would have started in this case with Samuel, okay? So, Samuel, if you'd like to introduce yourself and give an opening statement, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Samuel Akoto, a postgraduate student pursuing Masters of Science in Finance and Investment Management. I have had experience representing academic concerns of students as volunteering as a class representative. And I believe this is the time to climb the ladder by contesting for the Vice President for Education in order not to only represent the interest of students, but also to channel the academic concerns to the authorities for redress. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And now if we could have your statement, please.
Good evening. My name is Equia Sewajiman. I'm a postgraduate student studying energy politics and law. I reside in 5 House in Hillhead Student Village, and I'm running on a joint effort with We Are Here Now Slate. I am a student of politics who believes in the continuity of policies, and that is why we are here now. I am here now, vying for Vice President for Education to continue the already existing policies and adding new initiatives for the betterment of our stay here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much then. So we'll move directly into the questions, but first of all, I'll just give you a quick rundown on the debate order. So we have a series of personal... Oh, sorry, my apologies. Of course, I have a statement here from one of the participants who is not here currently. Sorry, my apologies there. Okay, so I'll read this out now. I'm just going to read it in full. It'll take probably a couple of minutes to read, and then we'll move on to the questions for you two, as nobody else will be answering these questions, okay? But we have this statement, okay? Okay. I'll just move this a second. Okay, this is the statement from Benitia. Okay, Benitia. Okay. Greetings to all current AUSA members, my beloved listeners, and all the technical staffs. Myself, Dr. Benitia Mohan Tripura, I believe, a veterinarian by profession. I studied an MSc Clinical Pharmacology at the University of Aberdeen, and I'm waiting to graduate this year in 2022. Voting is your choice and your right. I love to share my personal experiences. During my stay at the University of Aberdeen, it was my first time being in the UK, and it has always been my dream to study here, as many of us have the same dream. However, there were many challenges, and that I had to face at a point which made me mentally disturbed, and it affected so much my studies. It was my inner enthusiasm and interest that I overcame all those challenges. I believe wholeheartedly that there are many students among us not able to resolve their issues which they have faced specifically from the education side. As for me, there was a moment I felt helpless for not being able to get good support, or even afraid what if my complaint or reaction might affect my future degree to be awarded. Therefore, I tried to resolve most important decisions related to my own education, not much able to get help. However, yes, certain help obtained from the student support team. I am really grateful for that, and I will remain forever. After completion of my course, I obtained an MSc degree by God's grace. I felt something still is missing, and that is now for my fellow friends, neighbours in the accommodation and colleagues' experiences, and from the testimonies of students, that their problems which are not properly addressed by any representative. As for me, from the time I got admitted to the University of Aberdeen, I totally accepted the university as my own. However, I did not felt the same conviction on the other side. The fact is, many hidden challenges or unshared problems faced by the students from education side, especially students coming internationally with huge sacrifices away from family, financial expenses, away from their loved ones, including local students, and every student's coming from different parts of the UK. So I thought, as I have the experience as well, a chance to be part of ALSA, and can address all these issues towards education mentioned in my manifesto in terms of assessment, reset examination, and overloaded assignment, not only the clashes of assessment with different courses. As a result, students are not able to perform up to their expectations. For example, I noticed that after the submission of assessment and achieving a lower grade, we are informed we did not perform well. Still, our weakness goes unnoticed and unaddressed. This is really a serious business and need to further address such type of issue. I was also surprised to know that a student failing in one course may lose his degree and awarded with diploma. However, he or she paid the same fee structure with the rest of his or her colleagues. I felt this unfair and unjust. Not only that, I also came across students due to health issues not able to perform well in the course examination, and certain students are being targeted by their supervisor and resulting failing one of their course. And all this issue were not taken into serious action and even goes unnoticed. I also had a similar experience during my research work where I was not able to express my views for fear of losing degree or being graded with poor grade. Thank God, everything went smooth. However, it was my silence. However, not anymore. However, not anymore. We exist. That is the reason the university exists. It's time to bring change. Therefore, it's up to the students and voters, whomever you choose, make sure your problem and cry will be theirs. I believe I have all the credentials and my personal experiences if made you felt close to your heart. Okay, so thank you very much. That was the full statement there. Obviously, he will not be attending the rest of this debate, but that was the statement that he wanted to make tonight. Okay, so I hope everybody takes that on board. Okay, with that now out of the way, we will move to the question section. Okay. So, the way this process is going to work, as I just got into saying a second ago, is that we will have a question, we will have personalized questions, one for each candidate as we go backwards and forwards, but they'll be different. And there'll be about 4 of those, actually. There'll be 4 of those, so 4 each. And then once we've done that, we're going to move on to questions that are addressed to both of you, the same question. And you can even have a time to kind of discuss this among yourselves if you wish to kind of, come to some sort of conclusion on that. And those will address your more sort of general attributes rather than things specific to your own manifestos. Okay. And then after that, we'll open to the public if there are any public questions that come through in the meantime. Okay. So we won't take up any more time. We'll get straight on to the questions. Okay. So, and as I said, we're going to start with Samuel, and then we're going to move backwards and forwards like that, and we'll probably switch after the second question. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, Samuel, in the third point from your priorities in your manifesto, you mention a student academic forum policy. Can you outline exactly what this will look like, please? And as I should say, just to remind you again, you have about 2 minutes to answer this, okay? So if you could, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for the question. Mr. Chairman, I believe we all came to the university to obtain a degree, but the primary goal is to obtain understanding and increase knowledge. And during my tenure as a class representative, I have had interactions with students whereby students made it clear to me that they don't put much effort in their learning activity, because no matter how much effort they put in their learning activity, it doesn't reflect in their academic performance. So, Mr. Speaker, my third point is to explain the fact that when I am elected as the next Vice President for Education, I will enhance student learning experience through the Student Academic Forum by liaising with the school authorities to invite alumni of this noble institution, or specifically great academicians, to give a public lecture note on how they made it in their professional and careers. And since one of the determinants of academic success is motivation, I believe this student forum will address the lack of motivation students face, thereby enhancing their learning experience. I also believe this student forum will equip students with knowledge on how they can overcome their academic challenges when it arises.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We'll move on then to you, Akia. It is Akia, yeah? Akia. Okay, my apologies. Okay, from your own manifesto, you say that one of your priorities is to implement the class rep system. Can you explain the differences between how this is now, how you intend it to be, and how exactly you'll make sure that this is implemented?
Thank you very much for the question. So the class rep system is here to solve the problem of communication. So there is this issue where some people don't even know who their class reps are. Some people don't know who to speak to when they're having certain academic difficulties. And as a student who has been a class rep myself, I have seen that in students where they talk to me and make me aware of the fact that communication is quite poor. I spoke with the current Vice President for Education, and he put me in the know about the UNITI system, which is still in the trial state. The UNITI system is going to be some sort of a software or platform which will be infused on our Blackboard. And this is going to be a platform where communication is going to be eased up a bit. And it's also going to be a platform where the class reps are going to have training to be able to better support students. And although it's still under trial, I believe it's a way, or it's a step to easing communication as a whole. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer then. Okay, Samuel, back to you then. You say that there's an issue with plagiarism in your manifesto. You mentioned an issue with plagiarism, and you said that it's one of the biggest issues that students face right now. What do you base that on? And what do you believe that the anti-plagiarism workshops that you've proposed, what do you believe that they'll do?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for this question. Mr. Chairman, as during my tenure as a class representative, I have had the opportunity to appeal on behalf of students that commit plagiarism offenses. And I can boldly say that most students, preferably international students, are those that encounter issues with plagiarism due to their inability to report early to school due to traveling restrictions. And this gives them little or no opportunity for them to go through the plagiarism induction organized by the school. So, Mr. Chairman, my policy, what I have highlighted in my manifesto, is that when elected as the next Vice President for Education, I will work closely with the university to ensure that plagiarism induction is performed before and during the middle of the semester to enable students to know what constitutes plagiarism. I will also establish plagiarism workshop to enable students to know how to do proper references on their coursework before they submit it for evaluation.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Obviously, this is an issue right now, but I've just had a note to say, could you just remember to turn your mics off once you've finished speaking, please? Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. Okay, then, Akia, got a question for you here. You mentioned that the feedback form is one of the biggest issues to current students. Now, given the obvious scope and importance of the education officer, do you think that this really is the biggest issue currently? And are there any other issues that you'd focus on?
All right, thank you so much. So the feedback form in its essence is not a problem. The fact about the feedback form being a problem is the fact that it's only at the latter part of the semester. Now, when a student has certain difficulties throughout the semester, the person only has one chance to report the issue. And that shouldn't be the case. I feel like if there is another feedback form that is implemented in the middle of each module, some modules are set up in a way that could last just 4 weeks. But I only have the end of the semester to report that the style or the mode of teaching is not helping me, or the requirements of the course is not helping me. I believe when there's a feedback form in the middle of the course or the middle of the module, students are able to put out their challenges. Challenges are being pushed to the appropriate quarters. The appropriate quarters will take the necessary steps to be able to to take the necessary steps to resolve such issues, so that students will actually have the best of education they signed up for. That is why I believe there should be another feedback for in the middle of the semester. I mean, the course module, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, then, Samuel, back to you. So you said that you wanted to reduce academic workloads in your manifesto. So in what way do you want to reduce academic workloads? Would it be a decrease in the course content or in the assessment? And how are you going to avoid this undermining academic integrity and undervaluing student degrees?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for this question. Mr. Chairman, during my tenure as a class representative, I had the opportunity to interact with students where they made it known to me that they always go through physical and emotional stress as a result of the academic workload. Besides, it is with a saddened heart to notify the House that, as it stands, one of my learned colleagues is currently receiving treatment at a psychiatric hospital as a result of pressure from the academic workload. This is why I have highlighted in my manifesto that when I am elected as the next Vice President for Education, I will work closely with the school authorities and my fellow sabbatical officers in consultation with the OSA advice department to see how best we can review the academic structure to reduce the academic workload of students without affecting the learning outcome. Mr. Chairman, the review of the academic workload, in my opinion, will include a 1-week mid-semester break. Mr. Chairman, I believe the inclusion of a 1-week semester break will enable students to revive themselves and clear their mind of stress so that they can get prepared to continue with the other half of the semester. Mr. Chairman, the 1-week semester break will also enable the students to catch up with previous lecture notes or possibly engage themselves in activities whereby they can combat with stress. So, Mr. Chairman, this is what I am determined to do by liaising with the school authorities in consultation with the OSA in order to reduce the academic stress of students here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So back to you then, Akua. So generally speaking, there are class reps gathering feedback in advance of the SSLCs, which are in the midterm. Do you think, given this, that we do need another feedback form? And do you think that this could another form could possibly cause fatigue amongst the students?
Thank you so much. I think if you've been given the opportunity to voice your opinion or talk about whatever problems you're facing, it shouldn't be a cause for you to think it's a fatigue or it's a stressful venture. I mean, if you have paid huge sums of money to be educated and you are going through certain challenges that is not matching up to the education you were expected, I think there is a need for you to talk about it. And that is why the feedback form is in place. We appreciate the feedback form at the latter part of the semester. But what more can I see if I have already complained about a course that happened last semester? I'm in a new semester, I'm not taking that course anymore. What is the assurance that whoever should even take the course again will see the differences I'm expecting to be seen? And what about me? That course or that semester has already left. And there's nothing I could do about it, which means whatever good thing I was expecting from that course or that semester has been lost. So again, I believe that when we put a feedback form in the middle of the course or the module, we'll be able to understand students' difficulties concerning that course, and then those challenges will be rectified in time for students to have the best of education they expect from the school. This can be done through the deliberations with the education committee so that we can set short and succinct questions so that fatigue you're talking about will not be experienced in students when answering issues that concerns their education here. We can also speak to the IT system in the school to provide these subsequent feedback forms so that students can have access to it and then, let us know whatever they feel about the courses they are taking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay then, Samuel, this is your last question then, for this section anyway. How do you think that we need to improve coursework? Yeah, how do you think that we need to improve coursework in line with what you said in your manifesto?
Coursework in terms of deliverance of the course materials, or
That would be my understanding, yes.
okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you for this question. I believe, or we can all admit the fact that this COVID pandemic has changed the way in which learning materials are administered to students, though the school are trying their possible best to resume on-campus learning. I believe the course work can be improved when there is a comprehensive feedback from lecturers, as this will enable students to know their strength and weakness and where they can, students can measure their strength from feedback from lecturers, as they can measure their strength and possibly know where they can amend their weakness, so that in subsequent coursework they can do better. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much then. Right, so the last question for you then, Akuya, is what do you think that the student mentor program needs that is currently missing, and what incentives do you think you would put in place to highlight this? And this will be the last question, and then we'll move on.
Thank you so much. The student mentor program is more or less for undergraduate students, but we have other modes of learning. We have other levels of studies. For undergraduate students who have the mentors, their mentors supporting them in terms of their personal lives and education. We don't have that for postgraduate students. And I doubt we even have that for other campuses. The University of Aberdeen has 4 major campuses. The University of Aberdeen in Aberdeen, we have the Forester Hill, we have the Qatar campus, and that of the newly opened South China campus. They don't have student mentors. And even though we have undergraduate student mentors, they are not enough and they are overwhelmed. The current vice president during his studies as an undergraduate student was a student mentor himself. And at a point, he had to mentor 24 students as part of his coursework. But I believe that if we put in certain measures that will make the student mentorship volunteering duties more attractive, we'll have so many people signing up to assist more. And it wouldn't only be for undergraduate students, we'll have some for the other levels of studies. That is what I believe. And we can do that, again, through deliberations with the education committee. And when we talk about incentives, I'm also thinking that I could suggest that, when students are giving maybe a coffee at Union Brew once a semester, because you are a student mentor, it will be attractive enough, for people to sign up. So I believe the student mentorship program needs more attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to both of you for your great answers there on the specific questions. Okay, so we're now going to get into the questions which are for both of you to answer. However, conversely to that, The first two questions that I have for you are designed to test your knowledge on the university, its structure, and the role as a whole. However, obviously, this would bias whoever goes second, as they would then be able to build on the knowledge of the person who just went before them. So for that reason, we have two of those, and I'm going to ask one of them to one of you and one of them to the other, okay? So we'll begin then with Akua this time, and we will say the question for you is, what is the University Senate and what does it do?
What is the university? Come again, sorry.
Sorry, the question is, what is the University Senate and what does it do?
I'm sorry, I have no idea. Can you help me with that?
You mean University Center?
The Senate, as it is the education officer sits on the University Senate.
The Senate.
Oh, sorry, my pronunciation. Yeah, the University Senate.
Language
yes.
is actually a barrier. Okay.
Sorry,
so
my fault.
No problem. So you're talking about the University Senate, right? So the University Senate is a legislative body of the university, and it's pretty much headed by you. And it works in collaboration with committee heads. It works with conveners as well, and it is a body that takes care of suggestions, opinions. It deliberates on issues that concern the university body at large. It is an intermediary between the student body and then the management. It takes concerns and deliberates on issues concerning students and then takes it up to the appropriate quarters when it comes to management. That is what the Senate does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Akua. Okay, Samuel, your question then is, do you know what the Aberdeen 2040 is and how does it relate to education?
Aberdeen 2040.
Aberdeen 2040, yes.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I have no idea about it, but I will appreciate if you can educate me about it.
I think I would probably just say that I will move on from that question if that's fair. I won't present the question to you. I'll just move on. If you have nothing to say on the matter, then that's okay. We'll just move on. Okay. Okay, then we'll move on to the questions that actually are for both of you to share. Okay, then. So, question then. We'll begin with Akua again, and we'll say, what experience do you bring to this role?
I bring good communication. I bring good leadership. I bring teamwork and good negotiation skills. I bring experience, and I bring everything I have to serve the students of the University of Aberdeen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much then. Samuel, what experience do you bring to this role?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you for this question. My experience that I will bring to this role is my leadership skill. As an example, during my tenure as a class representative, I had the opportunity to interact with students whereby they made it known to me that they are having difficulties grasping their learning materials. And as a class representative or as a team leader of the class, I periodically organize group tutorials out of study hours to help them understand the course materials, and this further reflected in their academic performance. So one main skills I will bring to this role when elected as the next Vice President for Education is my leadership skills. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that then. Okay, we have time for just two more questions from this section, and then we're going to move on and see if there are any public questions, and if there aren't, then that will be the end of the debate. Okay then, so again, Akua, please, in what way do you want to engage with the class reps?
Thank you very much. In so many ways, communication is key, and that is the very powerful tool I'll be using to engage class reps. And I'm going to avail myself for class reps to also give in or put in their challenges through me to the appropriate quarters. I say this because I've been a class rep before, and until there was the announcement for sabbatical officers elections, I didn't even know there was a vice president for education and then there's a vice principal for education. So that is a line of authority in the school. And I would like to be that liaison between the students and management. So with class reps and of course with the Unity system, I believe that I'll be able to assist class reps with training and the ability to serve students. They will take students' concerns, put them together, channel it through me, and then definitely to the appropriate quarters for resolution. That is how I'm going to do it with my team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much then. Okay, Samuel, in what way do you wish to engage with the class reps?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for this question. Mr. Chairman, we all can accept the fact that educational experience goes beyond obtaining a bachelor degree. And for students to enjoy their education experience, they need someone who can channel their education concern to the authorities for redress. This is why I will, when elected as the next Vice President for Education, I will engage class representative on a monthly basis to discuss the academic concerns of students for redress. And there are several ways whereby I can engage the class representative. One of them is through the Microsoft team. One of them is by, having a personal interaction or having scheduling a group meeting with them. So I believe there are several ways to engage class representative, but the main effective way, which will be convenient for all of us, will be through the Microsoft Office team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that then. Okay, so we'll go to Akuya for your last question, and then same question again for you, and that'll be the end of this section of the debate. Okay, so final question for you then is, what will you do to ensure academic rigor and excellence at the university?
Thank you so much. In terms of academic vigor and excellence in the university, I believe the University of Aberdeen 2040 agenda is actually something that is already existing, and I'm fully involved and I'm fully in support of it. It says that it's open to all and dedicated to the pursuit of truth in the service of others. And that is what I also stand for. I'm going to avail myself as Vice President for Education to sit at meetings and contribute to the effective planning and deliberations to be able to put together students' thoughts and knowledge and bring to them the best of education they can ever have. I believe that the University of Aberdeen is our service providers and we are their clients. And of course, they should be able to take in our concerns and satisfy us as best as they could. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Samuel, what will you do to ensure academic rigor and excellence at the university?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for this question. I believe academic excellence will. I believe I will ensure academic excellence of students by working or liaising with the school authorities to ensure that lecturers provide a generic feedback on academic coursework, which I believe will enable students to measure their learning experience, thereby improving subsequent coursework. I will also ensure academic excellence by implementing academic campaigns to improve students' learning experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, that does conclude this part of the debate, and it concludes the debate entirely. Okay. Oh, sorry, we have one question from Anthony.
Thank you very much. I'm Anthony. Question to both of you, please. A few weeks ago, it was reported in the Gaudi that that CASE, which is the Consent Awareness and Sexual Education Group on campus, running the, I think, biannual survey, and they're proposing that each student, when they enroll in the university, should take part in a mandatory consent workshop. The university has said that they're not necessarily supporting this idea yet, so I'd like to hear your thoughts on whether you think each student should go through a mandatory consent workshop, and if you think so, how would you get the university on side?
Yeah, a minute, please. Can you rephrase the question and come back again, please?
Mandatory consent workshops have been proposed for all students enrolling in the university by the Consent Awareness and Sexual Education Group, CASE. Do you support that? And if you do, how would you get the university on side?
Would we be able to start with Samuel to answer this question, please?
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. I believe this initiative is something that I will encourage the school to embark on on a monthly basis, as it will create more awareness on sexual abuse to reduce such bad activities among students. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Akuya?
Yes, well, from the little deliberation we had there, I think both of us agree totally that the topic about sexual harassment, sexual assault, sexual life shouldn't be underestimated at all. And of course, as a woman, I strongly believe that the school should hop on this train so that we can educate our people, the students, and the school as a whole on sexual cases. So I'm into it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much then. Does anyone else in the audience have any other questions that they'd like to ask now? I believe there's one up behind me.
Okay,
Please.
thank you very much. This question goes to both, but I'm starting with Samuel. In your key points, you said monthly feedback sessions to improve communication with class representatives. I want to ask, do you know the school does assessment at the end of every semester?
Come again?
Do you know the school gives assessment forms at the end of every semester?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, what is going to be the difference between your monthly assessment
Okay.
and what the school does? Because some courses ends 4 weeks. Do you understand? So if the course ends in that 4 weeks, it means it has ended. And so if your monthly assessment and you are talking about comes at the end of the month, it seems the same as what the school does. Can you explain to me the difference?
Yeah, so one main difference between the academic feedback and the monthly feedback is that the monthly feedback will enable me to identify problems that will enable me to solve them whilst the semester is in session. While the academic feedback will enable me to identify the problem whose solution will take effect in the next academic calendar. Thank you.
A follow-up question.
Could I just ask before this happens, are you planning on asking this question to Akuya as well?
Okay, Akuya.
Or are you not? It's okay if you don't, but are you planning to?
I just want to finish with Samuel, then I'll move to Akuya. Okay, so you say so if I understand your answer, you said the solution will come the following academic year, right? And do you know that if I take maybe artificial intelligence this semester and I end it, and then I fill the form in the end of the semester, and you solve the problem at the end of the following semester or in the beginning of the following semester, do you know I'm not going to sit in for artificial intelligence again?
Please, your name again. Your name?
I'm Isaac.
Isaac, let me give this example. You know, Aberdeen University consists of several international students with language barriers, right? Now, are you supposing that someone whose primary language is not English language, we should wait for that person, we should wait for the school to address the language barrier of that person in the next academic year or while the semester is in session? What will you propose?
What I'm saying is that if we want solution, from what you've stated, it means that there is no difference between what you've stated and what the school is already doing, because if you want to solve something, and then I have a problem, a challenge with a particular class or a lecturer, how his teaching model is, and therefore the assessment forms comes at the end of the course, which I said some courses end 4 weeks, which I'm not going to sit in that class for that semester. So how would I know that there have been changes? Because the following semester, I'm not going to be in that class or I'm going to do the same course.
Isaac, I wouldn't dispute that fact, but all what I'm trying to say is that there are some problems whose solution will only take effect from next academic semester, and there are some problems whose solutions can be resolved while the semester is in session. So the monthly feedback is to identify problems whose solution can take effect whilst the semester is in session. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to move on, but I'm going to give you a chance to say anything that you want to
Yes.
say about this
Yeah,
matter
I want
first.
to add something to it. Thank you so much. I believe that we shouldn't really categorize problems. I think every problem is as important as any problem. Therefore, I believe strongly that if we have the feedback from in the middle of the module as it is happening, students will be able to put their problems out there so that the necessary steps will be taken to resolve them whilst they are having that module or those courses taking place. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much then.
And last question to Aquia.
Okay, one last question, please.
Okay. On your policies, you stated internship and employment opportunities. How are you going to lure or talk to those companies to employ Aberdeen students? Can you elaborate on that for me?
Thank you very much. Before I even answer that question, I would like to applaud the Careers and Employability Service for doing a great work with helping students with internships, grooming them us, if I should say, grooming us and preparing us for employment and other internship opportunities. I believe that moving forward, we could also have deliberations or conversations about the way and the format that emails concerning openings of internships are being distributed. If I'm a student who studies energy politics and law, and every now and then I'm receiving emails that suggest that there's an opening of an engineer, there's an opening for an actor, or there's an opening for, should I say, something not related to my course. Obviously, it wouldn't help me. Although I may know a friend or two who will be interested in that internship opportunity. But what about me? I believe that when we have conversations with the Career and Employability Service, they could make well-tailored emails that relates to a student's course or career interest, so that students do not scroll and just get bored and decide that no, this is nothing concerning me, but may miss out on what the internship opportunities are. So that is what I'm going to do. I can't alone decide to speak to internship or to speak to employees. It is not my duty to speak to employees. That is why we have the well-abled and structured Careers and Employability Service to help out with reaching those internship slots. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's anything that you want to add to this as a final note, or if you don't want to, that's okay as well.
I would,
But
any of us, all right.
I was directing that towards Samuel, yeah.
Okay. Educational experience goes beyond obtaining a bachelor degree, and for students to enjoy the educational experience that they desire, they need someone who can channel their academic concerns to the authorities for redress. This is the reason why you must vote for Samuel Akoto in the upcoming sabbatical election as the vice president for education, because your educational experience is my ultimate priority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm just going to give, very quickly, if you would, just a final closing statement, and we'll begin with Aquia and then finish on Samuel, and then that'll be it for the whole debate, okay? So, very quickly, please.
All right, thank you so much. I am Ikiase Wajaman, and as I said earlier, I'm prioritizing already established policies and adding new initiatives. I'm also standing on behalf of all the 3 other campuses, the diaspora campuses, that have been left out for too long in ALSA conversations. I am coming with my team to be able to include them in our conversations, to make them feel that they are part of us. They are actually a part of us. So it's about time they feel involved in our activities on campus, and it's about time their concerns reach the appropriate quarters. Thank you so much. And vote for Ikuya for Vice President for Education. I'm running again on a joint slate with Sai for Welfare, Camilo for Communities, and Vanessa for President. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Okay, Samuel, would you like to give your closing statement, please?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Like, as I said earlier, my name is Samuel Akutu, and I am contesting for the Vice President for Education, not only to represent student academic interests, but also to channel student academic concerns to authorities for redress. So I will entreat all students, both undergraduate and postgraduates, to go out and vote for Samuel Akutu as the next Vice President for Education, because your educational experience is my utmost priority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Samuel, and thank you to both of you for that very professional debate there. That was quite enjoyable. Okay, thank you both. We
you
are
so
going
much,
to take
Mr.
a
Chairman.
very, very short break, I would imagine, and then, yeah, a 5-minute break, and then we'll get right into the next session with Anthony. Okay, so thanks, guys.
That on. And then
Maybe you should do.
Excuse me, everyone. We'll get started in a few minutes. If everyone can sit down, and we'll get started for round 2 in a few minutes.
No, it's not. You guys do.
Excuse me, everybody. We'll get started for round 2 in a minute, so if you could take your seats, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
It's all chilly in here.
It is a bit.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Okie dokie, let's get started with round 2. I'm Anthony. I'm the editor of the Gaudi Student Newspaper, and I'll be asking the questions this time round. I think everyone knows the rules, so we'll just get cracking with the individual questions each, and then we'll go to some more general ones. Yes, but of course, we'll start with the introductions first. Keep your statements to about 2 minutes if you want to kick us off, Gabriel.
Sure. Okay. My name is Gabriel Brame, and I'm a 4th-year psychology student. I'm running for the position of BP of communities. I think communities are an extremely important part of university, and so many things go into it. And inside the university itself and outside the university, such as just the Aberdeen as a whole, Qatar, all our campuses, just a good community, good strong community, just can make a student experience so much better for everyone. So yeah, I hope I can do a really good job at this role. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. And Camilo? Opening statement.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Camilo Torres, and I am rerunning for Vice President for Communities. I think as Gabriel was saying, like community is a very important part of the student experience. I think creating a sense of belonging to the university and to the student union can improve your experience at the university greatly, and that has been lost in the past 2 years. We've all been struggling with that. So I think the main objective and the main reason I want to rerun and continue is because I want to continue working on building that sense of belonging, and not just for the general students, for everyone, but also focusing on specific communities and groups at the university that can struggle or can have bigger barriers to feel that they are part of that community. And yeah, that's my main objective.
Thanks very much. We've got individual questions now. And if you feel like you want to comment on the other person's response, just raise your hand and we'll have a short response, and then the other person can reply back to that. We'll start with you, Gabriel. You sent your manifesto that you'd like to push to make cycling safer in the city. But obviously that seems like quite an ambitious proposal, considering how politics works in Aberdeen and the powerful car lobby as well. So how would you make that happen, and what sort of timescale are you looking at?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I realized that. Yeah, I want to make cycling safe in Aberdeen for our students. And this, of course, there's car lobbies, as you said, but I think this includes a lot of aspects. Not only it includes cycling safety, implementing cycling safety workshop, for example. I see many people cycling nowadays without any reflective jackets. Encourage them to use these reflective jackets. Encourage these safety precautions to be in place for cycling to be safer. Hopefully, also maybe collaborating with this Aberdeen Cycle Forum to hopefully show our support for implementing cycling lanes. It's kind of also it's a kind of a good starting point to defend and to push more cycling friendly Aberdeen to develop. I don't, maybe in my sabbatical year I won't get cycling lanes in Aberdeen, but hopefully I can push the idea, start the seeds to kind of make cycling eventually much safer. And I think it's a great idea what people have done, what sabbatical offers have done this year with their rent a bicycle scheme. I think developing that and making it as accessible as possible for everyone would be fantastic. Hopefully that answers the question. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Camilo, question for you. You say in your manifesto that you'd like to increase more spaces for socialization. How would you make that happen? And does that mean that AUSA should have its owned student union building?
Yeah, so that's been one of the biggest challenges for the student union since we are back on campus. The university is still in this mentality that they're doing only what is essential, and their definition of essential, which is only teaching. But student experience is a lot broader than that. And if we are called to come back to campus, they cannot expect that we will only go to class and then go home and that's it. So that's a priority. The way we are already working on that is first trying to open in more of our own spaces in AUSA. So we are asking for autonomy to manage these spaces because, as you just said, the building is not even our building. So we cannot manage opening hours that easily. So first thing is like just take back control over our own assets in the student building, in Hillhead, and many other places. That will be the first step. And yeah, definitely priority. And we are already thinking and working about that is how are we going to get a bigger building that can be compared to student unions all over the UK, and that also will be a place to grow. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. Come back to you, Gabriel. You say in your manifesto that you'd like to support environmentally friendly initiatives. What does that actually mean? And then I'll ask a follow-up question as well after that.
Sure. Thanks for the question. So there are a lot of students in Aberdeen that have fantastic ideas, such as initiatives, environmentally friendly initiatives can include such things like growing your own vegetables, growing your own produce, and I think there's a lot of societies that are inclined to be quite sustainable, that would welcome the chance to do these actions. Secret Garden Society, Conservation Society, all these societies have really keen people to do these things, and supporting their ideas, asking for their ideas, I think is really important to develop these. And I guess that's what initiatives, in my sense of the word, that's what I would make out of them. Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks. And just to follow up to that, public authorities like the university, they have to publish information about their environmental friendliness as a building. You can ask them, for example, how energy efficient the buildings are. If you're elected, would you commit to making that same kind of information public for the Students' Association?
I think that would be fantastic. Making the information of the proceedings of the university public, increasing that transparency, I think is always a really good move. Just to have our students know as much as possible of how the university runs, and especially after in the world we live in now, where there's a really big climate crisis. I think a university being as transparent about these aspects as possible would be a good move, in my opinion. Cheers.
Thanks. Camilla, do you want to answer that as well about making the information public as the Student Association?
Yeah, I think that's a very important part of a general idea of making university more transparent for students, and also AUSA more transparent for students. We can accept that we're always struggling with engagement with students, and I think part of that is we need to be more transparent, and we need to lobby the university to be more transparent. So I think in terms of improvement of like environmental impact of the university, that could be helpful. I don't know if the students just by knowing that could do much changes, because we don't have much to say how much energy a certain building uses, no? But I think it's a good start. I think in terms of environmentalism, the university has very interesting kind of like objectives and proposal in their 2040, Aberdeen 2040 plan. And I think it's probably students, we need to be a bit more vocal and organized, and to kind of like to demand more from the university. So I will say that's an important step, but I think kind of like we need to go beyond that to actually make change.
Thanks a lot. Now I'll ask Camilo a question as well, because that was a sort of follow-up for both of you, if that's okay. You say that you talk in your manifesto about graduations and building a sort of sense of belonging in AUSA. How would you realize that? And do you think part of the sense of belonging is built by graduations on campus rather than at the P&J?
Yeah, I say this from my experience as an international student. When you move all the way to the UK, to England or to Scotland or any part of the UK, you have expectations of how the university is going to look, how your experience is going to be, and ancient student, like old buildings, traditions, stuff like that is part of what you envision as what is going to be part of your graduation. From my experience, and I know for any student or for many students is the same. So I understand that we were all happy to bring graduations in person, and that there are a lot of technical barriers for that, and P&J was the best option at the time. But I think it's important to consider that it's one of the most important days of our lives, and we want the photo to be perfect. We want our family to see us with the gown in the right set. And for me, a big corporative environment that looks like a car, like a car parking or something like that is not the best one. So I understand the technical difficulties, but I will continue, and as a team we will continue lobbying the university to bring back the whole experience as much as we can.
Cool, thanks very much. Were you wanting to respond to that, Gabriel? No, cool.
No, I think that's a great idea.
So question to you, Gabriel. You say in your manifesto that you used to be Go Abroad ambassador, and obviously the university has a lot of links abroad, and as was mentioned in the last round, we have quite a few campuses. So as communities officer, how would you build a sense of community for people who aren't just here on the Old Aberdeen campus, but at Forester Hill in Qatar and in South China as well?
Yes, so international students, I think, are an extremely important part of our university community. Up till these years, Aberdeen University has been one of the most international universities out there, at least in the UK. And I think having these international students partake in or be encouraged to partake in societies and student activities, clubs, is extremely important. I think when you come to a different campus, from my experience, it can be quite daunting, especially the first semester. There's so overwhelming. There's so many societies, so many things going on. So hopefully streamlining this process, making it easier for international students to get involved in be it in Qatar campus, be it in Forester Hill, or in Old Aberdeen, or in the new South China campus, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's extremely key to build that sense of community for international students to feel like they've had a really good time in Aberdeen. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. Cheers.
Thanks. Camilo, another question for you now. You talk in your manifesto a bit about rebuilding a sense of community as well. But then again, at least so far, that hasn't really resulted in much interaction with the Student Association, especially when it comes to elections. In 2021, there was a less than 7% turnout in the elections. In this year's rectorial election, there's a less than 3% turnout. And in the NUS referendum in 2021, fewer than 300 people actually voted. So, do you have any plans on how to fix that?
Yeah, I agree that engagement continues to be one of the biggest challenges for the student union. I feel that as students, we're engaging a lot more with students that need our services and our support. So I will say that we still need to work a lot more in big numbers. We want elections to have thousands of votes, and we want to have 20, 50 candidates, so that's the ideal. But I think there's been a qualitative change and improvement in the way we engage with students, especially after these 2 years of lockdown. No, everyone is tired of the online. No, so it's hard to keep attention. We don't want to offer students just yet another online event. No, but I think we've been working, and I think I've especially been involved with in-person events targeted to international students, to postgrad students, and other communities that usually are not engaging as much with the student union. And I don't know how much votes, how many people are going to vote in these elections, but just look at the debates we had on Tuesday and today. Look at the faces, the accents, the surnames, and I will say that's a victory for the student union to see so much diversity and good preparation and people interested in being part of the union as their job and giving a whole year of their life to the student union. So for me, I think we're going in the right way in that sense.
Thanks a lot for that. We'll do one more question each, and then we'll move on to the more general questions for both of you. Gabriel, you sent your manifesto. You talk about divesting borders campaign and cutting links with organizations that are related to human rights abuses and so on. Would you class that as including BDS or boycott, divestment, sanctions?
Could you just repeat that last part of the question? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, that was potentially the clearest. Would you say that also includes BDS, the BDS campaign of boycott, divestment, and sanctions, which was something that was proposed at the university or at an house at AGM a couple of years ago with regard to products and services coming from Israel with regard to the occupation of Palestinian territories?
That's a big question. Okay, so I think it's a good move to have these ideas in mind. If I see support for this movement, I would definitely look into it. But what I will be doing, like we've been doing this year with Camilo and myself in the Environment and Ethics Committee, is pushing that divesting borders first. Seeing what investments are being done by the university into these companies, and if there's any kind of campaign to stop these movements, it's these investments, I guess, to these companies. So I think it's a good idea to go to our next step in this direction to be that other initiative, but we should probably focus on divesting borders first. Although if there's a big student support for the other initiative, definitely have a look at that and see what we can do with environment and ethics and everything. And
how do you make divesting borders a reality?
Okay, so how we would approach this is talking with university staff, talking with having a chat with maybe the principal and with support of our committees. Hopefully push that. Hopefully, I firstly offer the idea and see how it's received. If it's received correctly, go for it. Have an idea of what exactly are these investments to these companies that are potentially a bit unethical. And our first move, I guess, would be to talk with the university, see what is being done, see if they support our idea, and go from there.
Thanks. Camilo, do you want to say anything? Because I gave Gabriel a lot of time there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting campaign, the Divesting Borders. It draws from a bigger or most famous campaign, which is Divesting Fossil Fuels, which with help of students, it's already been implemented and accepted by this university. So I think that will be an interesting next step, which kind of like it's not from an environmental point of view, but more from a political point of view. For me, I like the campaign, but I would like to do something even bigger. Or I like how the idea, but I think I would like to go for something bigger. So what I mean with this, and I'll be short, is there are many ways that the university still has borders and barriers for international students. they are invisible, but they are institutional, and the university can still work on this. They have the excuse of this being government guidance, but they can do a lot more. So that's the spirit of the campaign. And as Gabriel said, like, we'll definitely work on this with help of students. Yeah.
Thanks. And then finally for you, Camilo, as well. You say in your manifesto that you'd like to increase paid internships. Would that be with the university or with AUSA or both?
I think definitely with both. I have, as representing the students, I have to lobby the university, but I also have to try to make changes inside of AUSA. So I want both institutions or organizations to be a reflection of the students, of the diversity of the students and their talents. So I will definitely do it both in the university and both at AUSA. The reason I think it's such an important thing is that the university is not great, is not very good at hiring their own students, their own graduates. Most of their talent has to leave because of visa, has to leave because lack of opportunities, and the university has to do a lot more that. And this is not only for international students, for Scottish students, even Aberdonian students that we have lots of them, and they're very valuable. They are not employed by the university. Most of our employees, and it is also in AUSA, are from RGU, which is great. I think it's important to have people from different places, but I think the university needs to step up and make sure that we're keeping our talent at the same time that we're also welcoming talent from other universities.
Thanks a lot. We'll move to more general questions, bearing in mind we have about 10 minutes left. So the faster you both answer, the more questions we can get through. First of all, just for both of you, start with you, Gabriel. Why you? Why are you running for this position?
Good question. Well, I decided to run because I think that there's a couple of issues that have to be well, more than a couple of issues, but that have to be addressed. And I think I've done leadership roles before. I've been in a couple of societies, and I think there's a couple of barriers that have not still been removed to make society's activities work at their full potential, per se, and build that sense of community. So I thought I could do something to change that, and here I am running for VP of Communities to hopefully help our community to be a bit stronger and help societies and activities to take down these barriers of building their own community and have a better community. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And Camilo, why are you running? Why you?
Well, then first, I've enjoyed my job here. I think there's, and at the same time, I think there's a lot that can be done. One of the biggest challenges as a sabbatical officer is that there's a huge learning curve. Is the first couple of months you basically don't know what is going on. You have so many meetings and so many different projects under your remit that you're lost half of the time. So I thought that a second year will kind of unlock my full potential for change and for working. I'm proud of the work of AUSA's staff and of AUSA's sabbatical officers, but I still think there's a lot of change to be done. And I feel that after having the basics learned and after knowing a bit more what my job is about, I'm definitely going to go for bigger and more radical changes at AUSA and at the university.
Thanks to both of you for those. As we're talking about communities, we like to be friendly to each other. I'd like you both to say something that you like about the other person's manifesto or campaign and that you'd potentially like to incorporate as well. Start with you, Gabriel.
Oh man, Camilo's fantastic. I just want to start with that. Whether you vote me, you vote Camilo, I think you're gonna do a good choice. Camilo is running with a fantastic team, so I think that's a big plus. Yeah, I do agree with this idea of trying to open spaces up on campus for students to use. I do agree with what the current sabbatical officers have been doing to push for that own AUSA building. So I think these are very important issues that I be going for as well. So yeah, I think maintaining a good friendship, good community is extremely important, and I think Camilo is a good choice, a really good choice. If you definitely, yeah, yeah. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks. And to you, Camilo?
Yeah, but first of all, thank you. And second, yeah, we've worked a bit together in one of the committees, and Gabriel's manifesto has a lot of focus on sustainability, which is great, but it also understands the political and social dimensions of that. So, for example, he proposes, improving like cycling. No, it's not just because it's a nice sport or enjoy cycling, because he understands the impact that it has for students. No, so I think reading his manifesto and reading about cycling, reading about divesting borders, kind of like I see that he understands the relation between different parts of what we do at AUSA, and I think he's like reading his manifesto, it's obvious to me that he's done a very good preparation for this. That is, so I think I will say that since I have the advantage of having knowledge about AUSA for a year or 8 months now of working 9 months, I read Gabriel Manifesto and I don't feel that he's under that level, that he has done the homework and he has done the job of really understanding AUSA. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, both of you. We haven't got much time left, so I think we'll go for a couple of quick fire round questions, 3 of those. And then if we have time, we'll go to one more slightly lengthier question, and then we'll open up to questions from the audience. So just say if you agree or disagree with it, and then if you want to say why, then just very briefly. First of all, AUSA should always support UCU strikes, yes or no, and why? Gabriel.
Sorry, could you remind me what UCU means?
University College Union, the higher education union.
Gotcha. Yes, I think it's incredibly important to hear everyone's voice in university, and definitely supporting these people is really important. It's really important.
Camilo?
Sorry.
No, the answer is no. I'm going to explain very quickly. I think AUSA should always be for workers' rights, and AUSA should be helping UCU building that support, but we cannot just give them a blank statement of support. No, it needs to be an agreement and it needs to be built from the ground. So that's no, but there's a reason for that, yeah.
Thanks a lot. Next question. AUSA should remain a member of the National Union of Students, yes or no, and very briefly, why?
These are tough questions. I think so. I think the work that has been done with NUS has been quite fruitful so far, and seeing what was being done, I think it's quite productive. So I would say let's keep it on.
Camilo?
Yeah, I think in the past couple of years, that support that we get from NUS is less visible, because lots of it is related to going to congresses, not to going to conferences, but they do give a lot of opportunities for training and help for sabbatical officers specifically. So it's not something that is obvious for students, but it actually improves their experience by making their sabbaticals a lot more prepared and more effective in their job. Yeah.
Thank you both for that. Then last quickfire question, an issue close to my heart personally. AUSA should support student media on campus in the interest of building community. Gabriel.
Absolutely. I think I agree with your statement so far, but I think so. I think what student media has done on campus so far has been incredibly important. I think it holds the university accountable to some extent, and I think I was part of the student media group in my exchange year, and it was incredibly important what they were doing. And I think supporting student media, Gaudi, for example, is a good move.
Thanks a lot. Camilo?
Yes, I think student media and student voice is essential to keep the university a democratic place. But at the same time, I think the university itself needs to also support student media. It can be the Gaudi, it can be any other media, but there needs to be something, and the university is not fully understanding the importance of one of the oldest student newspapers in Scotland. And yeah, so I think yes, but university needs to also step up.
Thanks a lot. I think we've got time for one more general question for both of you, then we can open up to questions from the floor and then final closing statements. So if you're elected Vice President for Welfare, what steps are you going to take to improve accountability and visibility of what AUSA does internally and as an organization? Gabriel.
I think it'll be quite complicated to be elected as welfare, but if I got elected for communities...
Did I say welfare? Oh, sorry about that. Of course I meant communities.
My chair just went down. Anyway, I look a bit shorter now. I completely forgot the question. Sorry.
So what would you do to improve accountability and transparency within AUSA? As
Gotcha.
communities, of course.
Yeah, gotcha. I think the accountability sessions that are currently done in student parliament is really important. Knowing what the sabbatical officers have been up to, keeping a record on that is good. And also increasing transparency in other sections of AUSA that are a bit unknown to students is quite important. Finance, what's going on with that? It's maybe it's just my ignorance, but I think for a lot of students it's a bit mystery of what goes around that. So I think it's quite important to make every aspect of AUSA as transparent as it can be, and that way it will be easier to keep AUSA accountable for what their actions are. Yeah.
Thanks. And Camilo, accountability and transparency within AUSA.
Yeah, I think AUSA has not been great in advertising its own like improvements and its own the work that AUSA does. So, for example, two of the ways that we engage students the most, and almost all the students in the university, is through societies and sports activities, and also through freshers. And most of the people involved in those activities don't know what AUSA is. They think the university is doing this, and we spend most of our resources in those three things. So in order to increase transparency, we need to make those activities about that students know what AUSA's role is in it and why it's important to have a student union. So I think we need to be better to advertise our own, the own good things that we're doing, especially when we're putting so much work on these activities.
Thanks very much, both of you. Any questions from anyone here or online? Okay, Daniel, go ahead.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I would like to address Camilo's answer to the quickfire round question regarding the NUS, if I could. Okay, if I could just address your answer, you said that a lot of the a lot of the stuff that the NUS does for us is not so visible. And I would definitely agree with that. But what I would say is that, for instance, you said that it goes to training for the sabbatical officers, but the recent, not so recent anymore, Democratic Review, but several years ago now, said that upwards of 95% of students did not know what the sabbatical officers were, especially the roles of welfare and communities. They essentially didn't know anything about them. So given that, and given the fact that the funding for the NUS is in the multiples of tens of thousands every year, I believe, do you really think that that is a worthwhile investment?
I think it's an important space also to see how other student unions are doing what they're doing. So actually, many students are struggling with engagement, but we have our own particularities. But I think NUS gives a space to do that, to just go and have some training opportunities, workshops, and also kind of like conversations with other student unions in a more structured way. No, you could say like, well, you could just go and talk with other unions, but this gives you like a structured way to interact with other unions, and that helps to give ideas and to see examples of how to improve the student union here. I think it's not AUSA's job to advertise NUS. No, I'm not too worried about students don't knowing what it is. I think it's AUSA's job to advertise what AUSA does, and that's what matters. But I will say that NUS helps, like support from NUS help us do a better job. But if students don't know what NUS, that wouldn't be a priority. I think if we increase engagement, that will come. When we advertise NUS conferences and students see that that means an opportunity to travel, to know more people, to to engage, then people know what NUS is. So at those points, it's important, but I don't think you need to know all the letters and names of it because there are so many of them. Yeah.
Thanks. Gabriel, do you want to respond to that as well, or are you fine?
I'll quickly agree with that. I think AUSA needs to advertise itself a bit better first, and then definitely when you know what AUSA is about, you'll know what NUS is about as a consequence.
Thanks. Any more questions from here? Go ahead.
Thank you. I start with Gabriel. What would you do to get international students, especially those from Africa, to get involved in your various activities? Can you explain to me what you would do to get international students, especially students from Africa, to get themselves involved in your activities that you organize on campus?
Thank you. Isaac, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Really good question. I think it's really important that we represent all these voices from all these international students, and there's already there's forums and societies that represent, for example, African students, and I think being able to encourage other societies of different interests to collaborate with these other nationality societies is really important. For example, if encourage the art society to do collaborations with international societies, and hopefully that introduces these other students to these ideas, and they are introduced to come along to other events of other interest societies, photography, art, what have you, whatever you'd prefer. Does that answer your question? Sorry.
Same to Camilo. Can you explain to me what you would do to get those students involved, especially African students, because most of the activities I've attended, I've not seen much of them. So can you explain to me what you would do this time around to get them involved?
Yeah. So I think AUSA and then the university needs to be a reflection of their students' diversity. So for me, we're going to have, I know we're going to have more engagement from African students just because we have a lot of African candidates for now. So, my favorite is Ikua, of course, but we have two or three other Ghanaians, two other Ghanaians running. That's going to happen. So first thing is you need to have representation, not just for the sake of it, not just for the photo, not just for tokenism, is because that's actually reflecting the university. So we have lots of students from Africa, especially from West Africa. We have students from India, from China, and you never see them in outside. You never see them in committees. You never see them, no, except of their own, Chinese society or Indian society. But that's not how it works. So I think just by getting people here, and that's our job in AUSA, and that's the university's job. And I think they are doing steps towards that, but there's a lot that need to be done. No, is that international students, we do not participate because we don't know, or we don't care, or we don't know. Is we need to do better things better. No, like we have different times when you come and go from the uni. We have different economical necessities. We have different cultural necessities. So you need to cater for everyone, and we will come. We will come to your events or our events. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Any more questions? Probably time for one more. Doesn't seem like it. In that case, we'll go to closing statements. Camilla, if you want to go first, about 1 minute closing statement. Thanks.
Yeah, I want to go back to the main point of my manifesto, which is building a sense of belonging. I think that captures most of it. That means getting the right experience, the students with the right experience involved in the right projects. Now we need to be able to advertise, there are projects that are for everyone, general students, but also very specific, initiatives that we need to gather the correct, the right talent. So I'm going to focus on that, on on getting more internships, getting more working opportunities within the university, because just by the force of getting a more diverse staff, more diverse students, like getting involved with paid work in the university, that will mean the university will be more diverse. It will happen, like it's happening now. So that's what I want to say. Just vote for me and vote for my slate. We are here now. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Gabriel, your closing statement, please.
So I think if there's no sense of community in university, something's going really wrong. So I think communities is extremely important to maintain a nice, strong community. I think increasing facilitating the building communities with our students is really important. I'd be definitely working on that. That would be the point I would be most focusing on, building a student community after COVID that is stronger, more focused on sustainability and environmentally friendly activities. And internationally friendly. So my name is Gabriel Brame, and vote for me if you want what I've just suggested. Thank you.
Thank you very much to both of our candidates. We'll give them a round of applause in just a minute. So straight away. And we won't go to a break this time. We'll just switch around straight away to questioning VP Activities candidate.
Adam, please take the stand. And then mute whenever you stop, yeah.
Okay, guys, I don't mean to hurry the celebrations for getting that done. I'm sure that everybody is happy to get that out of the way. It's a daunting task, but we do need to press on for time and begin in the next minute or so on this, okay? So if everybody could please just take your seats. Okay, we'll begin then. Obviously, as we only have one candidate, this will be a little bit different because, well, there's only one candidate, and so we don't have any real opportunity to kind of mix the questions around and assess the candidates. We just have Adam here to question on his future and his position and what he's done so far and everything along those lines. However, there has been a change in the role between last year and this year, so you are technically running for a new position overall. But yeah, but since this, you know, I think we'll keep it a little bit less formal, a little bit more chatty. Okay. Now there's a couple of questions that I want to ask you. Some of them are all right, some of them are a little bit harder, but I'm sure that an experienced, seasoned sabbatical officer such as yourself will be fine with that. Okay then, so we'll get right into it because we're pressed for time. But first of all, I'd just like to say, you know, good job on your current position, as it looks very likely that you will be elected to this position. However, let's take an opportunity to just have a look at some of the stuff that you plan to do over the next year. Okay, so in your manifesto, you say that you intend to raise more funds for sports and societies. That's one of your main points. Do you have any idea how you're planning on doing that?
Wasn't sure if I should do an introduction or anything first for myself, no? Or no?
You can if you wish to, yeah. Sorry,
Just what do you call it? Apologies to start with if anyone doesn't understand my accent. Yeah, it isn't always the clearest. But yeah, so a couple of things around funding, obviously, for next year. Throughout this year, in my role as the Vice President for Sport, I've been involved with a lot of discussions around grant and granting money towards sports clubs, as well as our spending our own money around sport as well. But with this change in role, obviously, to the activities, it's not going to be all sport focused. I want to be able to provide the same support and services that I've done through sport to activities and student groups as well, or societies as well. Again, around the funding, the main things that I'm looking to advocate around that are to basically advocate with the university and lobby the university to get more funding to support AUSA as a whole around activities, so that we're able to provide clubs and societies with the right funding that they require, so that they can actually provide the services they want and they should to the students to overall essentially enhance the student experience.
Okay, thank you for that. So moving on to the second question then, how do you intend to increase communication between AUSA and the sports clubs and the societies, as you mentioned in your manifesto?
Yeah, so obviously with this your role slightly changing then to the VP for, well, not this role changing, a new role coming in as the VP for activities. You're going to be a new point of contact for societies as well. So it's something that there's never been. Well, there has obviously the communities was the point of contact for societies, but it's sort of like lost there a wee bit. So to have this here clear-cut, one person responsible for communication for societies, sports clubs, and any activities, I feel like itself will improve communications. But again, through this year working and the feedback given to me through sports clubs, is that like the communications have already been on the improve since stepping into my role. So I feel like I'll be able to provide the same sort of thing with the societies as well. Not just communication in terms of like responding to clubs and stuff through emails or whatever. Another thing that I feel important with communication is our visibility on campus and like our presence, you know, so that students feel like they're able to come and communicate to us more easily or more readily. And that's something that I feel like we're lacking massively as a student union, is our like our presence on campus. So that's something that I want to look into for next year as well. Overall, yep.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. Okay, so the combination of sports and societies into one sabbatical officer and coming under one sabbatical officer's remit was obviously something that has been looked into over the past couple of years, especially. But it was always batted off and said that it would be too much work for one sabbatical officer. But they have now been combined. And do you think that you're going to be able to handle this workload, even though it's essentially going to double your workload or more? Do you think that you can, keep both roles and keep them squared away and efficient and such?
Yep, I think there's absolutely no point me sitting here and saying that it's going to be an easy thing to do, is to take on all the extra responsibilities with it. It is going to be a struggle, but that's something that, again, I'll be using my time. Well, actually, this month's a very busy month, but after this month with sports balls and stuff like that there, and the sports sort of die down, I'll be spending that time to properly look at the structure of the role for next year, so that things can properly change, that the role is much easier to take on, because I feel like my own role has a lot of problems currently, and then take on another role on top of that would be difficult to sort of reform the way the sports works, or the way the sabbatical officers look at sport. Will definitely help then to move over and take on extra responsibilities. Yeah, it will be an absolute definite struggle, yes, with a lot more things to consider, but it's something that I'm looking forward to trialing out, and yeah, there's only one way, I suppose, to find out what way it goes.
Okay, a couple of questions then on test your knowledge style things, okay? So, can you tell us a bit about the sports union itself and how it works?
Yeah, so the sports union is actually still set up through, it's not a separate sports union from the Students' Association. The sports is actually run through the Students' Association as opposed to like the university, which some universities would do. So sports is looked after by an activities team. So that's sort of why this change in role makes sense, is to have an activities officer that works underneath the activities team. And again, the activities teams look over sport, societies, student groups, so on, anything involved in activity. Within that, there will have a couple of different staff members with obviously different responsibilities around sport, and we also have 2 part-time staff members that work around fixtures and all with sport as well. So staffing wise, their sport union, or like our sports section, is maybe stretched a lot, but there's definitely some change needed around that. Yeah, I don't know. Yep.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Could you then tell us a little bit more about how the Societies Union operates?
Yeah, so obviously the Societies Union at the minute is still run by a student elective that's an unpaid elective of the Societies Union. Again, I know that the Camillo sits on the panel for the Societies Union sits along with them as the Vice President for Communities, but isn't necessarily the chair of the committee. Yep. Okay. But to have an actual House representative or House sabbatical officer that's chairing the committee, I feel like would just make things a lot more democratic there around the Societies Union, because there's definitely a lot like looser and not enough focus put on societies at the minute. It's sort of like lost in OUSA, where there is me currently putting on focus of sports clubs. The same sort of support needs to be there for the societies.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, so one of the reasons in years gone by that various different people at ALSA did not want to combine the 2 roles was because they would lead to some amount of bias, possibly, as in someone would be elected to the role who has a higher emphasis on societies, or somebody who's elected to the role who has a higher emphasis on sports. I think it's not unfair to say that you have a higher emphasis on sports. So how are you going to make sure that you are not biased and that you're fair towards societies as well?
Yeah. So again, I think that the staffing structure through AUSA is something that's going to support me with that there. And you're absolutely right to say that I've been heavily involved with sports since coming to university. And it is something that I've focused on. That's why I ran for the sports president. I've been involved with the sports committee as well. But the staffing structure is that it's the activities team, and that's considering both society, or well, all activities, society, sports clubs, student groups, and so on. And working underneath or alongside a staff with the same objectives as you to provide the service for everyone, all activities, not just sport. I think you're going to be kept in line, so you're not going to be swaying to one side. Definitely.
Okay, thank you very much for that then. Okay, so definitely a tougher question for you here, Adam, but you scored the lowest out of all of the current sabbatical officers on the recent Gaudy article that I have here, which is a sort of analysis of manifesto points and how you've done with your manifesto. You scored in at 56%, which is a respectable percent, but it was the lowest out of all of them. Now, considering obviously the doubling of the workload that will happen with the next year, are you sure that you're going to be able to keep up with all the work that needs to be done under that? But do you think, I mean, do you think that you are the person to take on such a large role there, basically?
Yep. So again, complete honesty whenever it comes to manifesto from my last round of elections is not knowing what to expect coming into the role and having completely unrealistic expectations of what can actually be completed. I think that falls for most people whenever they come into the elections. They're promising things that maybe they're not understanding, that there's processes that need to be followed around that there. And that's something that I've definitely noticed again through the Gaudy review on it. It does keep you in line. You're like, okay, right, this here takes a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. But there's a good few things in my manifesto that I'm still going through, or like setting down foundations for. So the active links, active school link ups and stuff like that there. Again, the inclusion of like para sports and stuff on campus, or the improving the awareness of it and stuff like that there. Like there's stuff setting down foundations for, but things do definitely take a lot more time than what you think whenever you come into the role or before you come into the role. So on that note, I think again, coming into this here, new role of the activities, keeping realistic goals and objectives, and setting more frequent, more regular performance indicators throughout my year will be a fairly good way for me to keep on top of and to make sure that I'm actually providing and supporting both societies, sports clubs in the best way possible, and making most effective use of my time for both societies and clubs.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Adam. That answer, Adam. Excuse me. Okay, so with the changing rules this year, what do you think will be the most challenging aspect of the change? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, actually, can I not ask that one? Sorry, I just totally read out the wrong one there. Can you say how sports were made more inclusive since a year ago, and how they can be even more accessible in the future, please?
Yeah, so in the past year, we've had our sports presidents meetings and coaching meetings with coaches and stuff like that there, and we've went through simple inclusion workshops. That's the word I was looking for. Like inclusion workshops with presidents and coaches and stuff throughout the year, because I feel like again tackling the higher up levels in the committees will have a better impact than throughout the entire throughout the entirety of the clubs. Another thing that we've tackled then as well is initiations. We've stamped down on initiations and lad culture. We've definitely tried to have a much stronger lockdown on them, which again is something that's helped with inclusivity in clubs as well. You know, people not feeling welcome to clubs if they don't drink and stuff like that. Let's see. One of the projects again that we haven't completed yet, but it's working with Alison Shaw from the Scottish Disability Sport. Again, that's just what we're doing there is we're going to be setting up sort of like a advertise your club sort of thing with different disabilities. So certain clubs are able to or certain clubs are more accessible to specific disabilities. So that's something that we're looking about, getting a way to actually get clubs to advertise themselves that they're accessible to that disability. So for example, we'll have the archery club that's advertised themselves that they're able to take, or not able to take, they're accessible to anyone with disabilities that affect the lower part of their body. And stuff like that. There's a lot of different clubs that are fully capable to take on people with any disabilities as well, and just sort of promoting that on campus, but then also not just promoting that, but promoting disabled sports as well, because some people again maybe don't feel welcome just to join a sports club because they say they're accessible. So it's just about promoting that as well, which we've been trying to do throughout the year. And yep.
Okay, thanks for that answer. Right, you're in the home stretch here. Okay, so two more questions after this. So space is something that you mentioned in your manifesto, space for both societies and sports. Now that's been a significant issue going back a number of years into the time that I was the chair of the Societies Union. It's been an ongoing problem, definitely. There's not really been a, could you tell us any significant progress that's been made on that over the last 2 years? Even, obviously with the pandemic being, a mitigating situation there, obviously, for a lot of things. But could you tell us what progress you made and what progress does still need to be made?
Progress limited. Space is a massive, massive problem. As I said, a lot of buildings around the campus, because it's such an old campus, historic campus, a lot of buildings under review and under construction, or just not fit for purpose, and they haven't actually started construction or refurbishments and anything like that. So there's definitely a massive problem around facilities for us. And even at that, the places that are currently being used for spaces are maybe still not even fit for purpose, or close to not being fit for purpose. So sort of the thing around that is just that I want to again make the university aware of these problems with spaces, and virtually advocate that they're able to put the proper resources and finances into providing new spaces, refurbishing spaces that are currently available, or fixing up spaces that aren't available there. And again, a couple of ways we've done that there throughout the year is, with Balgownie, which is the big B word that shall not be said ever with any sport meetings. Balgownie, just the building up there is absolutely ridiculously in shape. I went up to visit at one time, and there's the ceiling was falling through, very, very dangerous and scary. Massive spiders everywhere too, which was nasty. But yeah, so the university have since now closed off the space, and they're securing funding now that we can actually get a new building put in place up in Balgownie and turn that into a much better sporting facility. Likewise with Hillhead, the university is also looking into options with Hillhead facilities as well. Not only just the student accommodation space with like the Hillhead Hall and the house space up there, but also the Hillhead Sporting Centre across the road from the accommodation. Looking to split the space there, what can it be used for, as well as I think most people would know the old rec tennis courts as well, just opposite the road from it as well, just seeing what this space can be actually used for. So again, this is all stuff that are massive, massive projects. It's things that can't actually be done within a year, 2 years, or in the role. The thing is, you're trying to set down foundations, work with the university to notice the need to invest in these type of things, so that you can actually provide spaces, provide the facilities for sports clubs and societies that they can actually do what they need to do as such, and provide for the students.
Okay, thank you very much, Adam. So we're just coming to the last question now, which is somewhat long. So if you just give me a second to explain it. Both sports and societies obviously suffered considerably during the pandemic. I was more privy to the societies, but definitely sports suffered as well. However, sports now are largely able to continue their activities as they would have otherwise been able to prior to the pandemic, with obviously necessary safety precautions in place. This is not the case with societies currently, who are required to obtain prior permission from ALSA before they are able to continue any activities. This is something that has changed in the last year or so. It's now done, I believe, by categories, and I'm not sure on the time it takes, but about a year ago or so, this took in the order of 2 to 3 weeks to get this permission through. Now it might be shorter than that, but still, it is still there that this still needs to be done. Do you think that you can help with removing this as time goes on? Because it's something that a lot of societies have complained about, and it's seriously hampering their activity.
So this here is referring to risk assessments that need to be filled in. Risk assessment is something that's both targeted to sports clubs and societies, so that the sports clubs also had to get them done as well. I understand there's a lot of problems with the risk assessments, and again, it's something that I think is just the staffing around it, because of the vast amount of societies and the amount of different categories that can be subcategorized for risk assessments. So why the different types of risk assessments were brought in was essentially for differentiating between numbers for COVID, essentially, and away and home sort of stuff. So size of event is sort of why the different categories are brought into place. Hopefully now, moving out of COVID, let's hope we don't have to go back into any lockdowns or any more restrictions. The risk assessments won't need to be as vigorous as what they currently are. But again, I'm fully aware that around the risk assessments, there's a massive staffing issue. And I think at the start of the year, in September time, we had a staff member that had left us for our activities development coordinator, had left us, who was a massive staff member that would have been going through risk assessments and stuff for the societies, and that's probably something that's massively affecting, slowed down the whole process of going through them. So hopefully, going forward, now that we've got someone in place, they'll not be as slow with the risk assessments. But and again, I'm hoping this is in referral to risk assessments. Otherwise, I'm not too sure what it's about.
Okay, could I just follow up with that then? Because I would say, in my view, that this would be one of the major issues that was affecting societies, especially people from societies who could remember running societies before the pandemic or being involved with societies before the pandemic, was that this was not something that they could do, and the staff becoming involved with societies was not something that was particularly welcomed by many societies, especially during the time that I was the chair of the Societies Union. Would you say that there's any way to go back to the previous matter where risk assessments were not needed unless there was some sort of high-risk event that was going on, or do you think that this is something that is here to stay? And if that is the case, then, well, I mean, is that the case?
I think there's probably something that would need to be brought up to discussion at with a student council, sort of, or a proposal made for it. I think it gets tricky whenever there isn't risk assessments done for the simple accountability reason. Being able to keep societies accountable for anything that goes on within their not sessions, what would you say? Meetings, gatherings, yeah. Being able to keep the accountability there is really, really important. But I think the need to keep keep checking the risk assessments, maybe that's something that doesn't need to be done, where you're having to keep reviewing them every year and you're out to make sure they're still relevant. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's something that just it'd probably be an open discussion, sort of. But definitely, I think that if you're going to consider high risk events, that it would definitely need to be risk assessed. And then the problem is differentiating, or who decides what's a high risk event if the things aren't actually being brought to you. Is it an aftermath thing that you're supposed to deal with, or should everything be brought to us to risk assess? Yep, something that would need to be.
Okay, a final follow-up to this point, as I do think that it was an important one, was do you think that there's a risk due to this of societies simply not involving themselves with ALSA, because obviously a lot of societies mostly stayed away from ALSA and just did as they chose prior to this? Do you think that there's a risk that they will just illicitly move away from ALSA as they go forward? And that's my last point.
I would sincerely hope that they don't, for the simple fact of the benefits that coming through and setting up societies through houses actually poses, you know, in terms of, again, I know the problem is space, but we do try offer space to societies and support. Again, if you're a registered society through OUSA, then you're capable of applying for funding and stuff for your society as well. There's a lot of benefits whenever you're actually a part and registered as a society through us that you'll not be able to avail of if you're just a society that's set up externally. So I really hope it doesn't. Again, it's something that we could definitely consider doing a campaign about, sort of as affiliation and why you should keep affiliated, sort of to increase the awareness and show the importance of being affiliated with us. It's definitely something to consider.
Okay. Adam, sincerely thank you for coming down tonight. I know that you didn't need to be here, given that you are the only candidate, of course. But yeah, I'm sure that everybody really appreciates you coming down and hearing you out and knowing that you're ready for the role. Okay, if you do get it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Adam. Do you want to make a closing statement now? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Thanks. Just a quick question to follow up on what Daniel was saying. As you were saying, a lot of societies have been really badly affected by the pandemic, especially in terms of membership. And obviously that translates into how committees look. So I know for a lot of societies, they're really struggling not only to have members, but especially to have the committees, even in the key positions like treasurer and secretary and president. So is OUSA still going to de-affiliate societies who are in that kind of situation? Is there something that can be done so that societies aren't just disaffiliated and disappear because then there's no one to, well, there's only a few people to continue it? Is there something that you can do in that role to help? Thanks.
I'm not sure, but I would say that there is certain bylaws that were, or bylaws are not bylaws, what's the one? Policies that can be sort of amended around this here discretionary time. Like, you know, it's a difficult time, so certain circumstances that can be considered, like extreme circumstances that's put societies into positions where they can't fill in committee roles. So I feel like there's something that we could explore there. Is like that. I don't think our aim is to get rid of societies. I think that's the last thing we want to do. We want to try help wherever we can to keep the societies with us. So whether that's being providing support to try advertise the societies that need more people to fill in committee roles, or if it's to, again, have this extreme circumstances sort of ordeal instead, there'll definitely be support there. So there will. Again, I'm not sure what's actually happening around that, as I'm still the sports president at the minute, so I'm not really involved with societies or anything. But I know there is the same sort of problem going on with sport as well, some sports, and we are trying to give the proper support to try advertise roles and all as well with it. But it is definitely difficult with societies. They've definitely been hit much worse, I think, than the sports clubs have with it. But yeah, so hopefully that's answered.
Okay,
question.
thank you very much. Are there any other public questions that would like to be asked at this time? Camilo, please.
Hey Adam, could you give us your top events, ideal events you have planned for next year? Like what do you want to do that can be even better than what the current communities officer was doing?
Big events. Oh, that was, hold on. Big events I would like to work on are the balls. I think having a bit of fun with them now, but I think that the King's Ball that's supposed to be for societies could definitely be a lot bigger than what it is. But again, I suppose the problem with that with this year was that we were uncertain if we could actually have a ball or not. So I think if, like a big event, I would like a big massive society thing, and again working around Granite City at the minute with RGU. They're hosting this year. Next year we will be the hosts of it. So in terms of big event, I would like to do a massive thing for it, because at the minute Granite City obviously is just focused around the sports. So it is. So it's just the sports teams competing. It is the varsity day, that makes sense. But I think making it a university-wide thing would be really, really cool. You know, if you see like the American varsity days, this massive days with like barbecues and stuff like that there. I know we don't really have the best weather for barbecues here, but being able to get more the actual university versus university rather than university sport versus university sport, I think would be something that I'd really want to do with Granite City. Again, haven't really set ideas for that, but more than open for discussions, any ideas to be brought to me for that. I think that'd be really, really cool.
Good. Okay, I think that we're probably going to need to wrap up just about there then. As I said before, yeah, would you like to make a closing statement, Adam?
Vote Adam for VP for activities. Please don't let me get wronged. That would not be good. Yeah, and again, in case anyone doesn't know, Adam Lambert is the name. Is a part that I had to put in by our VP for welfare. Apparently that's how I introduced myself. So just let you know. Thank you for listening, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Adam. Like I said before, yeah, thank you very much for coming down today. Appreciate it. Okay, round of applause for Adam. Okay, and thank you to everybody. Thank you to the AUSA staff for arranging this. Thank you to all the candidates for coming down. Thank you to the technical staff for helping us run this, and thank you to my co-chair Anthony for running this with me. And yeah, thanks everybody. Good time.